All right, welcome to the first of its kind, world-changing manufacturers network. Lisa Ryan has her ears to the ground and her heart in the game. Get ongoing education and new connections right here with Lisa and the Manufacturers Network. Buckle your seat, listen, and spread the word. Here's Lisa.
Hey, it's Lisa Ryan. Welcome to the Manufacturers Network podcast. I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Grace Bilbrough. Grace serves as Director of Marketing for ProWood, a leading brand of UFP Industries, where she draws on more than a decade of experience as a key strategist. She has played a pivotal role in the ProWood rebrand and business model shift from the prior UFP Retail Solutions business unit. So, Grace, welcome to the show.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to join you today.
All right, so share with us a little bit about your background and what led you to doing what you do.
Sure, absolutely. So I will start by saying I never thought I would be here. If you told me when I applied for college or when I was younger that this was going to be my career and what I would be doing, I probably wouldn't believe you. I thought I would be more in actually like parks and recs, but the world has a funny sense of humor, so here we are. I have been with the company for 11 years. Prior to that, I did large-scale events in Chicago. I used to work for our local Convention and Visitors Bureau, and then I took a job at what was Universal Forest Products. We've since changed the company's name, and I was in communications and social media, stepped up into a PR manager role, became a digital marketer, a category marketer, and then as we consolidated some of our retail brands about 3 years ago, I stepped into the Director of Marketing role, and that's where I sit today as Director of Marketing for ProWood.
Awesome. Yeah, ProWood is known for their strong industry presence. So how would you describe the company culture that drives the success behind the scenes?
Yeah, so culture overall is really the backbone of the company. And that statement goes for UFP Industries as a whole, which is our holding company. And you see it through all of the brands and all of the various segments that we house within that kind of holding company umbrella. But culture within ProWood, while it is built from that, as we worked through the rebrand and kind of refresh of ProWood last year, one of the biggest themes that came through is people who care, and we heard that from our manufacturing employees to our sales team to people we sell to and the pros they sell to, is that these people care deeply about what they do, whether they're cutting lumber on the line or installing someone's like a homeowner's deck. So that culture of caring and pride in craftsmanship runs deep, and it's really like the cultural pillar across all of the people we work with and work for. And I think that's what differentiates us in the market is it makes our products strong, it makes our relationships even stronger, and then ultimately our presence in the market strong.
And sometimes going through a rebranding, it is difficult for employees, especially those who have been there for a while, to go through. So how did you make the smooth transition? Because it sounds like it worked out great.
Yeah, transparently, we do value transparency in the company, and for transparency in our conversation is it hasn't been smooth. It hasn't been perfect. We suffer from change fatigue across the organization. We've changed a lot in the last 3-5 years. That is something that we really wanted to address in our brand refresh with our employees, with our customers, as this perpetual change, but it's always rooted in growth and how we can expand and bring, whether it's better products to market for the pros or better services to our dealers. So really making sure we had that messaging in our pocket was important of, yes, it's another pillar of change. It's not always easy, and we stand by that, and we're here to help you through it. But ultimately, transparency and clear communication and kind of just continuing to champion that internally and externally has really helped.
You know, it's so funny with the transparency because it seems like such a no-brainer concept that if you tell employees what's going on, they're more likely to trust you. And yet there's so many organizations that'll be like, if we tell employees what is really going on, they'll get upset or they'll leave or they'll want more money or they'll do everything. It's no, if you're if you let them know authentically and truly what's going on, it actually does work.
Yes. Ultimately, people, we say we have a very competitive culture. The people that we hire are highly competitive. They want to go out and compete. And if they don't know where we're going, it makes it really hard to compete. It really makes it hard for them to do their job. And again, there's areas where we fall short. There's still some of that kind of large corporation, right? The people who need to know do know without understanding all of the people who need to know. And so in this refresh and with the new leader of the retail segment, we've really started to push that even more of open communication, transparent communication. When we all know what the business goals are, we can all put our best foot forward in whatever the role is and really harness that competitiveness.
So, as head of marketing, how do you ensure that your ProWood's values and vision are reflected both internally with your team as well as externally with your customers?
Perfect segue is internally, it starts with that transparency and the communication. That's what is going to drive our team's alignment. There's different silos in the business, and we try really hard to cut those down and work cross-functionally from sales to operations, marketing, kind of spread out all across the country. So my team and my team's job is to make sure that all of these different departments understand not just the what we're doing. Yes, we're bringing lumber products to market, but why we're doing what we do and having that brand refresh research in our pocket of people who care, like what you're making in operations or what you're selling to the dealer is ultimately for someone who cares deeply about their business, whether it's a dealer or a pro. And so making sure that communication flows smoothly internally and people are really driven by the why and not the what. And so taking that externally, every touch point that we have, whether it's a brand campaign or sales collateral for our team to go out and sell, we really work hard to weave those values into the messaging. So it's less about selling and bringing a product to market, and it's more about telling our story, building that trust, and really fostering that strong relationship and partnership.
Well, and it sounds like with the foundation of people who care, that's a universal message across the organization. I was just at an event and this week, and I was talking to a guy that was talking about the people in the warehouse referred to as concrete and the people in the office referred to as carpet, and neither the two shall meet. And so it's interesting when you realize that you do have silos and you do everything you can to bring those groups of people together, and especially when you have that common goal of people who care.
Yeah, we all care deeply about what we do. And I think even more so for the industry, right? The lumber industry is certainly not for the faint of heart. It's got good times and bad times, and people think of it what you will, but it really is fun. And when you can break down those walls and work together as a team is when you really unlock the fun.
Yeah. And it sounds like working on that. So marketing as a manufacturer really does mean that close collaboration with sales, operations, and product team. So how are you fostering that cross-department collaboration with all those areas?
Yeah, really keeping in mind that it's always a work in progress. I say to my team, like, it's like a marriage or a strong relationship. Like all parts have to be dedicated to getting better. Not always going to be easy and perfect, but if we can all dedicate ourselves to open communication as best as possible, then we know we can start to get things right. Ultimately, acting and knowing that marketing doesn't exist in a silo is where I frame it for my team and where it starts. We need to be a good partner to our sales and our operations team and kind of champion that communication flow as best as we can, while we also balance driving demand in the market and bringing new things to pros and sharing their voice and kind of telling their pain points and sharing how we can fix them or work together to fix them. So we work daily with our sales and product team to understand more customer pain points and then how we translate those into campaigns and resources. Operations is a little harder, right? You have people from working on a saw through office roles, but we really try and set realistic expectations and staying alignment on true priority things to our customers, right? Product availability, performance updates. We need to make sure that from a marketing seat, we are setting realistic and accurate expectations for what the market is doing.
Yeah. And it seems like with operations, because a lot of times they would be the people that would know actually what was going on and could tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's up to the sales and product teams to listen to that so that you are putting together a realistic expectation for your customers and for the rest of your team.
Yeah, absolutely. COVID was a interesting time to work in our industry, right? Demand was high, supply was low, and it was imperative more than I had really ever experienced in my career in the industry of how important it is to stay close to your operations team, to understand what's happening in supply chain because your sales teams need to know about it. You need to be checking your campaign and social media content against what's happening in the market. So that was feet to the fire, right, of how important and fast communication needs to be. So we try and carry that through in everything we do moving forward in slower markets.
Yeah. What's interesting when you were talking about that, it just reminded me of my finance guy who stays in touch with me. And when things go bad financially, it seems a lot of advisors, they don't want to be found. They don't want to be seen because they don't want to share good, bad news. And yet we get those things are bad now, but they're going to turn around. And this is what we're seeing. And just that transparency, but the comfort that, yes, this is a bad time. When are we going to go through a worldwide pandemic for goodness
Right.
nobody's ever gone through before, but that it's almost instilling a sense of calm that we got this.
Yeah, and that really feeds that foundational relationship building, transparent communication. Like we had to have that all baked in and have strong relationships with our dealers to say, we have your back. Yes, demand is tight now, but we have your back and we are working around the clock to make sure that we can meet your needs and meet your customers' needs. Since we've built this level of trust, there's a little bit more peace of mind during those situations.
So what role are you seeing company culture play in encouraging new ideas, creative campaigns, or innovative approaches to customer engagement, especially with all the new technology and AI and everything else that's hitting the market, it seems, every week?
Yes, yes. This kind of roots back to our universal force products of holding companies, culture and values is we like to say we're a company built of entrepreneurs. And so everyone brings this entrepreneurial spirit to what they do. So having that as a pillar of the culture really gives people permission to think outside the box and do their best work and offer their most creative ideas to the company. Tying it back to what we talked about a few minutes ago is that's only best received when they know where we're going. So we have this culture piece. We're giving them the permission to think freely, and we can harness it best when we have open and transparent communication. We know that innovation, one, it doesn't happen overnight, and it certainly doesn't happen when people feel boxed in or feel like they can't share ideas. So we really try and foster that open idea and making sure people know who to go to with these ideas and also set expectations of what that might look like, whether it's a new technology or a product innovation. And then past that is how do we scale it when we do have good ideas is, all right, let's work on testing it, putting the research behind it, developing it, scaling it, and then telling that story. So our employees continue to hear these success stories of what it looks like when people do bring their ideas up.
So do you have a couple examples or a couple favorite stories of recent ideas that you've heard and implemented or some new innovations that you've been able to implement?
Sure. It actually is a good story from a new product that we're launching later this year. It's already in the Denver metro market, but it actually started as an idea out of our Hamilton, Ohio facility, which is just outside Cincinnati. They worked with their customers, heard and understand what pros were feeling as a pain point in the Cincinnati market because they have that entrepreneurial spirit and are able to bring ideas and build ideas from the ground up. They tested what we're now calling True Frame in their market. And this was probably 3 or 4 years ago. It's gone through a few different iterations as it was brought internally into our research and development team. It's gone through the product development process. We've enhanced the original idea with the proprietary chemical. So we've bridged the gap between wood technology, a greenfield kind of plant level idea into development. And now we have a really great new product called True Frame Joist, which will launch later this year in the Great Lakes and the Northeast.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's nice for the employees to see that their ideas are actually taken seriously and acted upon, because that just spurs them to share more ideas with you.
Yeah. And ultimately, their boots on the ground, right? They see their customers daily. They're having more conversations that we in marketing or product development are ever privy to having. Like, we rely a lot on more market research and conversations internally, but they are hearing it firsthand. So they're just a wealth of knowledge. And back to that kind of open communication and transparency, internal relationships need to be just as strong as external relationships. So there is that trust, and you can help foster people's ideas and bringing them through the pipeline to market.
Absolutely. So what steps does ProWood take to ensure that your employees feel supported, motivated, and aligned with the company mission? It sounds like you're listening to their ideas and innovative approaches. Are there other things that you're finding that's working?
Yes. So as a company of competitive people, we do find recognizing contributions, whether it's a leaderboard or monthly kind of success stories that tie to our pillar. That is a big driving force in our company. And it really helps continue to create that sense of purpose, help drive the overall mission of the company, where we're going, how what their day-to-day looks like connects to that, and just making sure that we have that constant employee recognition. Aside from employee recognition, we have a lot of internal professional development outlets, whether that's safety programs or training on new technologies that we've launched internally. And then we just strive to make sure that everyone feels heard, seen, part of the team. Again, I've said it so many times, but it is that open communication. We're a large company, we're coast to coast, and we work hard to make sure that people know where we're going and how their role impacts them.
So you mentioned leaderboard. So how are you gamifying your recognition or giving competitive people the opportunity to compete so they see their names on that leaderboard?
Yeah. So when we launch new products, we do a big new product kind of kickoff so people can see in their markets of where they stand. There's weekly sales goals of who is outpacing who as account managers in the sales realm. So whether you're motivated by dollars in commission or new product sales, we really try and make that open to here is where everyone stands, who's doing best, and then also try and share what's working. Why has John Smith had so much success, right? Is that scalable? Is there something unique to what he's doing that we can unlock for another sales member? And then we also I joked with our CIO the other day we're big on cybersecurity, right? So we get phishing attempts, like, how do we make a competitive board for that? I want to see how many fishes I got. And just fun things that seem silly, but are ultimately culture building and do feed a competitive spirit.
So how does the internal culture at ProWood influence the way that customers, retailers, and partners then perceive the brand?
Yeah, it shows up in everything we do. Day in and day out, our culture is on display. In this industry, it's really about working with people you like. Everyone feels like friends. It doesn't feel like you have to tiptoe around these situations. Again, whether that's internally or externally, but a lot of these partnerships we've had for a decade or more And we just continue to serve and work with people who carry the same values as us. We carry an immense amount of pride and dedication for the relationships we have, and that's why they've lasted so long. So really, it's not about just delivering product, but it's about maintaining that culture on display and serving those people who feel like us. They feel like home. They feel like part of the team.
So we covered a lot in our time together today. And if somebody was listening and wanted some ideas as far as what they could do to create that type of culture that it sounds like you have there, what do you feel is either the best idea or the best way to get started?
Yeah, the best way to get started, I would say, if you don't have it already, find a way to connect with your team, whether it's a small team, large team, global team, having pillars of consistent communication. We do quarterly check-ins with our president. We actually call them a town hall. So he comes in front of our entire organization and gives an update from his point of view. We do monthly sales updates. I manage our internal email list. So I think making sure you have at least 2 to 3 really good outlets of communication for your team so they consistently know where we're going and how we're measuring against that would be my number one piece of advice.
All right. If somebody would like to continue the conversation with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, absolutely. I am on LinkedIn, so I'm Grace Bilbrough on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me, message me, reach out. I'd love to chat, or via email. My email is gbilbrough, that's BILBROUGH @ProWood.com.
Wonderful. Grace, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show with me. Thanks so much for joining.
Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate the time.
I'm Lisa Ryan, and this is the Manufacturers Network Podcast. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Manufacturers Network Podcast. Do me a favor and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can grow this network and connect more fantastic folks just like you. You can either send your buddies to the website at manufacturers-network.com or share the Manufacturers Network podcast on your LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or wherever you and your industry friends hang out. The bigger and faster we grow the network, the stronger and deeper the community we'll all have. Thanks again, and I appreciate you.